Theresa May lost her biggest test and saw the heaviest parliamentary defeat among any British Prime Minister in the Democratic era. This was after MPs overwhelmingly rejected her Brexit deal. Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn has called for a no-confidence vote against the British government today. If May loses the vote, it will trigger general elections in Britain. There was one party, though, that wasn't all glum after the Brexit vote. A hope was rekindled for the pro-EU supporters about a prospective second Brexit referendum who considered May's loss as a win. The pro-EU supporters cheered and celebrated outside the British Parliament as Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit deal failed to see the light of the day.
Is to leave in an orderly way with a good deal.
And any black people here.
Posting leaflets in letterboxes because you've been told what's happening in Parliament. As you can see just behind us, there is a EU's permission, so this is a very
A terror attack in Kenya's Nairobi killed at least 15 people. Gunmen and suicide bombers from the Somali Islamist group Al-Shabaab stormed a business and hotel complex. Kenyan Interior Minister has said that the situation is under control and all the buildings are currently secure. Between 600 and 800 Honduran migrants in a new US-bound caravan have begun their long trek in hopes to succeed. This even as a previous wave of migrants were unable to enter the US. Local television footage shows several hundred people in the violent city of San Pedro Sula had huddled together. When having Honduran flags, they began their journey up north to reach the US-Mexico border. Meanwhile, President Trump has repeatedly vowed to stop the Central American caravans, sending troops to reinforce the border. He has described the migrants as an invading force. Trump's Attorney General pick William Barr assured senators that he would allow Robert Mueller to finish his investigation. But he also added that he may not make the final report public. William Barr will be confirmed as Attorney General by the Republican-controlled state. A crew carried out an explosive demolition of the old Tappan Zee Bridge over New York's Hudson River. The new bridge, built next to the Tappan Zee, opened in 2017. The bridge connected the west of the river with Greensburg on the east side. Saudi teen Rahaf Mohammed Al Kunoon has arrived in Canada as the country has granted her government-assisted refugee status. Rahaf Mohammed thanked Canada, Thailand and the UN in a press conference. Rahaf Mohammed told reporters that she wants to pursue education and work for the freedom of women around the world. The Saudi woman grabbed international attention last week when she escaped what she described as an abusive Saudi family where she was subject to beatings by her mother and brother. Venezuela's opposition-run Congress has formally declared President Nicolas Maduro a usurper of democracy, whose actions will be considered null and void after he was sworn in last week for a second term. U.S. President Donald Trump is considering recognizing the leader of the country's Congress as Venezuela's legitimate president, according to a report by CNN. Maduro was inaugurated on January 10th under a wave of criticism that his leadership was illegitimate. The head of Libya's internationally recognized parliament has said that Tripoli should press ahead with its national elections, even if voters reject a draft constitution in a planned referendum. The UN and Western powers hope Libya will hold its national elections by June after holding a referendum on a constitutional framework to chart a way out of the conflict, which stems from the overthrowing of Gaddafi in 2011. Jordan's King Abdullah has visited Baghdad for the first visit since 2008. The visit is the latest in a flurry of diplomatic activity in Iraq, where the US hopes to counter growing Iranian influence. The king plans to activate security agreements and finalize an oil pipeline project between the two countries. King Abdullah's visit comes a week after US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's Middle East trip that was meant to rally Arab allies against Tehran and reassure them over a planned US troop withdrawal from Syria. Russian diamond giant Alrosa has set up a subsidiary in Zimbabwe to begin mining operations there, more than 2 years after it shelved plans to expand into the country. Alrosa, the world's largest diamond producer by output, started conducting geological exploration in Zimbabwe in 2013 but dropped the licenses it held there in 2016 due to a reform of the country's diamond industry. Zimbabwe has opened a small window for foreign companies to participate in its diamond industry to maximize exploration. An avalanche slammed into a hotel in an Austrian town following days of heavy snowfall in the area. It has damaged the hotel, but fortunately none of the guests and the staff were staying at the time in the part of the hotel hit by the snow. Both guests and staff have been evacuated by nearby hotels. Authorities in Austria have issued warnings for possible new avalanches as temperatures in the Alpine region started to rise since Monday, causing snow melts. Most of the guests staying at the hotel at the time were Danes belonging to the Danish skiing team. There was a relay race in Austria which saw a motorbike and skiers team participate. 13 teams went head-to-head in a two-part race. The start was made by the skiers, which was carried forward by teams on their motorbikes. Now, wet weather sparked mudslides and flooding fears on Tuesday in Southern California after heavy rain hit areas scorched by wildfires last year. According to the local media, winter storm warning is in effect in the San Gabriel Mountains in Riverside County. Mandatory evacuation orders were issued early on Monday for parts of Riverside County. The latest from the National Herald case, the Delhi High Court will hear the appeal of the Associated Journalists' plea challenging the single judge order, asking it to vacate its premises. Now, the AGL has approached the High Court seeking a stay on the operation of the order. Associated Journal is the publisher of the National Herald newspaper. A single judge on December 21st had dismissed AGL's plea challenging the centre's order to vacate its premises in Press Enclave within 2 weeks, after which eviction proceedings under the Public Premises Act 1971 would be initiated. India's trade deficit in December narrowed to the lowest in 10 months as lower crude oil prices and falling gold demand reduced the burden on the import bill. The gap between exports and imports stood at $13 billion, compared with $14 billion in the same month last year. This is according to the release from the Ministry of Commerce. Last September, the government hiked import duty on 19 items in an attempt to curb the fall in the rupee and bridge the widening current account deficit. One of the two Indian women who entered the Sabrimala Hill Temple in Kerala this month have alleged that she was beaten up by her mother-in-law. 39-year-old Kanaka Durga, a civil servant, entered the temple in defiance of a centuries-old ban on women of menstruating age. The police said that Kanaka Durga suffered injuries to her head and had to be hospitalized. Durga claimed she was attacked only minutes after she returned to her home. Durga's mother-in-law has denied the allegations. The police is investigating the matter.